Good morning, and a happy Wednesday. Welcome to today's episode of Morning Well. Three things that we will talk about. Nike just did it, Amazon's rise, and Fed's peak. Wall Street closed deeply in the green on Tuesday, and the S&P 500 wrapped a 4-day losing streak as a sharp rebound in tech sector outweighed concerns of a new wave of lockdowns in Europe. On the policy front, Fed Chair Jerome Powell reiterated to Congress that the US needs further fiscal stimulus, lifting sentiment. On the corporate side, Amazon led a tech comeback nudged by an upgrade to outperform by Bernstein. We'll talk about that a little later in detail. On the coronavirus front, the Washington Post reported that the FDA is expected to release a tough guidance for an emergency authorization of a vaccine, making any pre-election distribution unlikely. The Dow gained about 0.5%, the S&P 500 was up 1.1%, and the Nasdaq jumped by 1.7%. Consumer discretionary, communication services and the tech sectors led the rebound yesterday. The Euro Stock 600 also gained 0.2%, clawing back some of the ground after it suffered its biggest one-session fall since mid-June. Asian markets fell following Monday's sell-off in the US. The Shanghai Composite was down 1.3%, while South Korea's Kospi also shed about 2.4%. On the commodity markets front, it was pretty mixed. The US crude futures rose about 0.7%, while the gold futures fell by 0.1% to 1898. Treasuries were little changed, hovering around the 0.67, which is your 10-year treasuries. Asian equity futures are pointing towards a lower opening. On the equity side, Nike did it. Shares soared more than 8% in late trading after the sports retailer quarterly revenue beat the highest estimate, coming in at about 10.6 billion, aided by its shift to online. Digital sales of Nike brand rose and FX adjusted 83%, though store-based sales continue to suffer as virus-wary customers stayed away. Adjusted EPS and gross margin also beat. The news actually helped Under Armour, Foot Locker and Lululemon shares as well. So strong performance from Nike. A lot of action on Amazon. First, Amazon jumped after the stock was upgraded to outperform by Bernstein, which said that the e-commerce quote has permanently inflected and the company's investments have positioned it well for the long term. Separately, the company's Prime Day will take place October 13-14 this year, is what The Verge reported. The retail will probably make an announcement September 27. What also happened was Amazon jumped on the at-home bike bandwagon, launching its own Prime bike. The new EX Prime Smart Connect is available for about $500, a steep discount to Peloton machines that cost well over $1,000. It's only available to Amazon Prime subscribers and was developed through a partnership with Echelon Fitness. On that news, Peloton fell about 6.7%. On the fixed income side, US investment grade issuances returned after Monday's pause, with 8 companies piling in and over 15 billion which was set to price. T-Mobile is selling about 4 billion to refinance existing notes. Meanwhile, British American Tobacco is poised to sell about 6.2 billion again to refinance debt. It separately kicked off a 2 billion cash tender offer for 7 securities maturing through 2022. So the issuances after that pause continues. On the FX side, US dollar traded higher against all the major currencies on Tuesday on the back of relatively neutral comments from Fed Chair Powell. Although Powell described the outlook as highly uncertain and the path forward will depend on keeping the virus under control and on policy actions taken at all levels of the government, none of these remarks were really surprising. This is something that he's reiterated pretty consistently. What really was surprising and briefly roiled the market was another Fed official, Charles Evans, said the central bank's new policy guideline doesn't preclude tightening before inflation averages 2% for some period of time. A message at odds with Powell's mantra that the policymakers aren't even thinking of hiking. So that comment from Charles Evans was a little bit of a surprise. In terms of data, manufacturing activity in Richmond region was better than expected, and existing home sales also rose about 2.4%, which was in line with expectations. With no major US economic report scheduled for release today, the focus will still remain on Fed speak. Powell continues his testimony today as well, and what headlines will come out of Washington. So the rally in the dollar drove sterling, Australian and Canadian dollars to 1 month lows and euro to a 2 month low. Virus woes hit sterling hard as well. Prime Minister Johnson announced new restrictions that could last up to 6 months. Lastly, Reserve Bank of New Zealand will be meeting today. It'll probably stay on hold at 0.25, maintaining an easing bias. While the central bank is preparing further stimulus steps, it'll probably wait until its November meeting to present them after New Zealand's October 17 general election, is what Bloomberg Economics commented. That's the update. Stay safe and healthy, everyone, and speak soon.